So hey guys, welcome to episode, wow, I think this is already episode 8 of TreeBark. It's been quite a handful of episodes and it's been a really fun journey so far, and I can't wait to ring in the new month of March with a new special guest, an artist no less, Seibear.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I got my hot cocoa like I was just mentioning before, and I take it that you're not a caffeine person like you were saying.
No, I hate caffeine. I hate caffeine, and I also hate chocolate.
But how do you stay awake? You need something to stay awake.
Usually I'll just take a 5-hour energy if I'm absolutely desperate. But for the most part, water keeps me up.
Would you like to say a little tidbit to introduce yourself? Like what you're about, what you do, what you're up to?
Yeah. So I'm or Seibear. I am just a furry artist. I mostly do adult work. So, I don't know. I don't do really anything else.
Right on. But that's how, a lot of my friends actually were talking about your art and commissioning you. So that's how I kind of caught wind of your gallery, and I would check it out through FA. Oh, it's like such a huge inspiration, and I love like the way like you draw your anatomy and your anthropomorphic like characters. They're so good. I love it.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. That just makes me so happy.
Yeah, like it's honestly a huge inspiration, so I appreciate it.
It's crazy though, because the stuff that I've seen from you has actually been an inspiration for me. It goes full circle.
What was that?
It goes full circle.
Oh, thank you. I'm very, very humbled, because that's the way I feel like when I do get on that kind of level of appreciation from other like peers in like kind of our furry digital art world. Like, yeah, you're right. It goes full circle, and when you see art that you really like and you like can kind of vibe with, it influences my work, and then it gives me more motivation to keep like getting better.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's how I've noticed a lot of the furry community works. It's everyone working together instead of seeing each other as competition or enemies, really.
That's a really good point. I mean, I'm not too sure about many other fandoms or community of like art, because the furry fandom's the only one I've been most exposed to. But that's like the really positive thing about furs. Like, even if you just start out in art, like I can't help but notice that there's always gonna be people that are always super encouraging, or they just notice your work and they're like, hey, you should do more of that, and then you just like feel so empowered. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's part of what drew me into getting more into the furry community. When I started, like, to be honest, I didn't know that furries existed until until 2017.
Oh, I saw that's when you made your FA, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had no idea about furries or the community. I had seen like fursuits before, but I didn't know what they were or what they were for. I thought they were for sports events.
So like actual just mascots?
Yeah, I thought they were a mascot, and whenever anyone had brought them up, they were kind of mean about it. I don't know.
Oh, really? It was actually kind of... I was just going to ask you too, so like what was the sort of, at least when you're getting exposed to this kind of culture, what was like the people around you, their perspective of what furry was at the time?
So I grew up in a super religious area, so I was never really exposed to anything weird or like out of the norm. So when I found I'm trying to think of how I can like put this in a timeline. Okay, so when I found furry people I found in 2017. 2017, I was in college, and I kept it super to myself. Like, no one in my life that I have daily access to or communication with knows
close
that
friends, even?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even my closest friends do not know that I'm into furry stuff, only because, you know, all those people have grown up in the same community that I've grown up in.
That's the kind of vibe that I hear from some other furs too. Is it like just very conservative that kind of makes it a little, I guess, censored in a way?
Um, I, I, I don't know if conservative is the word for my experience anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but I know it's mostly religious.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that includes conservative views,
Oh, I guess
but
so. But in a way that there's, yeah, I get that there's this kind of this feeling of one way to act or think, and I don't mean that of any particular religion, but that's the feel that I get often from people who come up in these kinds of families.
hmm
Yeah. What
yeah,
what kind of
my
broke out of
no, go
that
ahead.
though?
I met someone on DeviantArt. I've always drawn animals, not animal people per se, but I've always drawn animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a DeviantArt page a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I met someone on DeviantArt. His name is Nick, and he's like,
Not Nick Wilde.
no, and you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? He adores Nick Wilde, so he's kind of Nick Wilde in my head.
Hey, right
But,
on.
so Nick kind of helped me grow out of my little bubble that I was living in,
Yeah.
and he would show me, slowly introduce me to new things on the. He kind of like was my internet tour.
Oh, he was
Tour
your
guide?
mentor?
Yeah, he would take me through, and he would help me grow out of the bubble that I had grown up in. And he showed me a few images of furry stuff, and he had kind of encouraged me to like try to draw my own characters. Since I've always loved drawing animals, it was no problem for me. And he introduced me to this whole community of people who liked
Oh.
animal people too. And it was like the greatest thing ever, because I'd always done this by myself. I've
Oh,
always
so
kept it to myself.
was the art itself just like kind of a fun hobby, or did you get into it through like a school or a class or something like that?
It was always a hobby. I've always, since the dawn of time, I've always liked
Just been
drawing, but always for myself.
a passion. Oh, right.
Right.
Right on. So I guess, yeah, like the way that you mentioned it, so when your friend said, hey, try give Anthropomorphic Creatures a try, it was kind of a natural progression from there.
Right. Yeah, it was. And it was, at first, it was super, like, it was super safe for work. Like, I would
Mhm.
never even look at other type of
How could
adult
I even
stuff.
draw a bulge?
Exactly.
How dare
That's
I?
exactly how I was. That's exactly how I was. Exactly. And I still kind of am like that a little, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
After, what has it been, 3 years?
Yeah, it's been 3 years now. That's crazy. But yeah, I still get extremely blushy and flustered when I try.
That's kind of adorable, though.
I don't think it's ever gonna stop. It's so embarrassing. But so when I do draw, I have like a blanket on me so I can just hide.
Oh, really? Oh, that
Yeah.
like sets like more of a comfort zone for you.
Right? Yeah. I
I've
guess
not heard that
kind of
before.
still like the bubble.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
I guess, do you still live with family, or you live on your own independently, or?
I'm everywhere right now. It's kind of like I got a complicated family situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't make enough to live on my own just yet. Because I'm
Yeah.
living in California, so there's no way I'm
Oof.
be able to
Still,
afford.
yeah, that living cost. I
Yeah.
feel you there, living even here in Hawaii. It's pretty similar.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. But yeah, my family life is really complicated. So I'm between houses. I'll
Mm-hmm.
live sometimes at my parents' house, sometimes at cousins, aunts. I bounce around a lot.
And does that kind of like dip into like, for some people, do you have to distinguish between like your work, like furry life, and your personal life, or is there kind of a blend or a happy medium?
I have to keep them extremely separate.
Oh, wow.
I-
Okay.
I do not let that. I go through extreme lengths to keep my furry stuff on the extreme low.
So how does that meld though? Because okay, one personal thing. Whenever I'm at my day job or my work or yeah with family, when you're an artist and you can't help but just draw or do something, and people ask like, "Hey, you do art?" and then you're like, "Yeah," and then they're like, "Oh, well, of course they're gonna ask, hey, can I see some of your work?" And then what happens to you in that moment?
I I have a contingency plan.
Oh.
I usually, if anybody asks to see my work, I have a file on my iPad that I carry around that's strictly safe for work. It's kind of like my sketchbook, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's only safe for work. I don't draw anthropomorphic animals in it. It's just feral animals, observation art.
Oh, so something for like practice or
Yeah.
just definitely not the mainstream stuff that you'd be working on.
Right, exactly.
That's really funny.
So
I should definitely have a spare folder, my plan B.
right. Yeah, I keep that with me, and if anybody asks what I do, I just tell them that I'm a freelance illustrator that does animals, and I just leave it there.
Let their imaginations fill that in.
Right, exactly.
So being a freelance too, do you also have time to like fit in not only your personal work, your freelance work, but also like a day job or something other than just art that you can focus on or build on the side?
At the moment, since I'm everywhere, I don't have the best plan for how I will balance everything.
Yeah.
At the moment, 99% of my time is spent working on commission work.
Oh, wow.
I used to work at a insurance company
Mm-hmm.
To afford, groceries, I guess.
Yeah, just normal living costs.
Right. But I quit that recently, and I'm trying right now to live just doing art stuff. It's really difficult because I'm not. It's really hard to schedule out how things will work because I don't know where I'll be from day to day.
Yeah, that's the really tricky thing. I did notice though, I've seen a picture before of you had a con table before where you set up your own, like, I guess, yeah, your artist shop.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little towards that? Because I've never done that personally, and I've been super interested in it.
Oh, you totally should. It's that was my first time. I was blessed enough to be living in a pretty stable situation for a few months, so I was able to build up my my merchandising and everything, and get that table out in Arizona. Sorry. Well, it was I don't really know. That was my first time doing.
Was it a furry convention or was it?
It was at Arizona FurCon. So I had to keep that super on the low too. I couldn't let anybody know where I was going.
So you're going out and people are asking you, what's the event? What are you telling them?
I just told them that I was going out to hang out with my friends in Arizona, and I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you come back with...
Leave me alone.
You're leaving with your big posters and everything of your soda and stuff on it.
I kept everything in like a box, in a container looking box thing, so it just looked like a bunch of junk that I was just taking with me. But as far as the con itself, it was a really small convention. I purposefully chose one that was super small for my first time, so I wouldn't overload myself.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like Anthrocon with like 11,000 plus attendees and everything.
Yeah, I can't fathom.
That's pretty nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I am going to go to BLFC this year.
Oh, nice. BLFC 2020 Cyberpunk?
Yeah. It's slightly bigger, I think. I don't know how many people attend BLFC.
It has been growing. I've been to, my first one was in 2019, but I've spoken to a lot of my local friends here. They've been going for a good at least half a decade. And it's
Wow.
been BLFC has been growing steadily since, I believe, from like 6,000 attendees to maybe 8,000 or 10,000 even it's nearing.
Wow, are you serious?
But it's the way that like my friends always describe it because they really like it. That's their, if anything, that's their one con they'll always try to make every year because it's so centralized in the Grand Sierra Resort. Have you been to BLFC before? Or will this be your first attendee at the con?
I went last year, actually, at 2019. I probably saw you at some point.
Oh, snap. Did you have a table then? I don't know.
I did not. That was just my first big furry con to go to.
Okay.
Just to see what was the deal.
Kind of scope it out.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, I
super
really
cool though.
I really like how because I've heard for some other places you're gonna have to go out and eat and stuff, but there's so many restaurants in there. You can do a little bit of gambling, and they have all of the different events all basically in one floor, and it's just
Yeah.
really easy to like just kind of live at the hotel.
Yeah.
Other than like all the other furs, they'll be going out to Walmart and then clearing out the booze.
Right. Yeah, I think BLFC is definitely one of the I can't even make comparisons. It's literally one of three that I've been to in my whole life. But as far as the three that I've been to, that one's the best for sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I gotta say, well, it has been my one and only, so I'll say the same. Is it this one then? So for 2020, are you planning to do a table for there?
I am. I'm going to be in the black market this time.
Okay.
Or at Arizona FurCon, they didn't have like an adult section where you could be, so the whole thing had to be pretty family friendly.
Oh,
And
are you even allowed to do something like where artists they'll have their lewd art or something or the lewd posters, but they can put post-it notes or something over the bits?
I don't know. I didn't try it because I didn't want to push my luck with it.
Yeah, I guess better be safe, yeah.
Right, but I think you might be able to, but you just have to check IDs first before you're allowed to.
Oh, obviously
think
the
even-
age, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that you were allowed to have a lewd looking image, even with sticky notes. I don't know if that was
Oh, wow, okay.
allowed.
But
I'm not
BLFC
100% sure though.
As far as BLFC though, they're totally cool with it, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At BLFC, I think you're allowed to have, like, in the common area, you're allowed to have sticky notes on the lewd areas.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the black market, it's just allowed to all be displayed in its full glory.
Oh, nice. And yeah, one of
Yeah.
the things that I was talking about with one of my other artist friends, yeah, we were kind of roughing out the works for hosting a small table or something that we could share, and split and kind of go like, you know, like half off with like a shift, and like you can manage my table for, you know, so long and just switch that up to make it easier on us. What building up like the merch or like the stuff that you're gonna sell, how have you gone through that, or what have you thought about?
At the moment, like for FurCon or for BLFC?
I guess just from your experience, so this upcoming con, like what kind of, I'm really, because I think about this all the time, like if I was going to make a table, what is the kind of stuff that I know that I want to sell? Like what are some tips or what are some things that you like to share?
Oh, gee. I'm the worst person to come to for advice because I am still learning myself. This is only my second time.
Okay,
But
okay.
the thought process in making merchandise was totally different for me for both times. For this upcoming one, since I'm able to do the 18 plus stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to just let my mind go wild. So first of all, I wanted to try things I've never made before. So I want to try to make Duckies,
Ooh.
I believe they're called. Yeah, I'm going to try making Duckies. And I guess I'm going to have maybe prints. I don't know how well prints really do. I know that people like to talk about them,
Mhm.
but I haven't heard any good things
Do you
about prints.
do you often do yeah, I have seen mini prints or posters, or I did work one time with a furry docky maker. If anything, I think their company was called Furry Duckies.
Mm-hmm.
And they can do this really cool thing. I'll forward you the link later. Where you can do a one-off batch just for a custom order for your size extra large, large, etc. for one design. Or you can actually get affiliated with them and they'll put you through a contract if they think like, hey, we want to sell this particular type of character for this season. And if you have a design that, you know, you can work with them or they like, they'll be able to host it on their website. And
Really?
yeah, and any passive purchases or sales that they make, like say you have a lot of buddies that wanted a particular character that you so happen to draw as a docky, they'll send you a certain amount of percentage cut. And it's really, really nice to see like, wow, so many people like this character and stuff. I made one for my BF before.
Wow, really? I had no idea they did that.
Yeah, I'll totally try to hook you up.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Holy heck.
And yeah, dockies are super. I mean, right now on my bed, I'm not gonna lie, full disclosure, I do have Nick Wilde as a docky on my bed.
Nice. Super nice.
He has a popsicle.
Oh, that's so sweet. I've always wanted a docky. I cannot get one right now. I cannot get anything until I get my own place to live, but that's my number one apartment goal.
Yeah, I got a couple of buddies too that they'll have the kind of like safe for work docky, and then on the flip side they have to hide it.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea though. Having one side safe for work and the other side the not safe for work.
That's the cooler side of the pillow.
Right.
So I mean, as far as merch and stuff goes, I like to always ask artists because I'm also building up myself, and it's kind of like I always see artists are super creative, but the business side is also kind of the entrepreneurial side that I'm always interested in too. So have you made things from like business cards and like what is the experience like been for you for like kind of promoting yourself, or like how do you say like, hey, get in touch with me this way and stuff? What is kind of worked for you?
So far I at Arizona FurCon I just did little business cards, but I didn't put my Twitter or my FA on it because those are adult sites, or they're adult oriented.
So you don't necessarily advertise yourself as the 18 plus type of artist.
I haven't at Arizona FurCon, where I don't really advertise myself much, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I mostly just depend on commissions, mostly for getting my art out right now. But I do need to focus on trying to advertise more at the coming wow, my brain just died. At the coming convention. At the coming convention at BLFC, I'm gonna have business cards and promotional stickers and whatnot to advertise myself, because I mean, I'm trying to be super careful about who I give my name to, because I don't want kids looking up my name and seeing what I do.
That is the kind of tricky thing too, because I even have my business card with I mean, I do have it advertised, like it says furry artist, illustrator, the non-denominational good boy, and it does say, I do have it say 18 plus, and you're right. The one thing that I am concerned about, and although it's not entirely our responsibility, is like the demographic. You don't really want to get caught up in that. That's really tricky.
For sure. So that's like the main challenge for sure for not safe for work artists. Yeah, I would say.
And I see others like totally own it though. They'll just be like, "Hey, if I ever catch wind, banhammer right then and there."
Yeah, like that's, I don't know how they keep track of all that, because you have to go through each individual person who either visits or follows you, and I don't know how they keep track of that personally.
For your commissions though too, what has been the kind of drive to do? I've noticed you do through your commission page. I've noticed they're mainly YCHs. Do you often do YCH the most? No, actually, YCHs are extremely rare for me. I'll maybe do them. I think the last time I did a YCH was Halloween, maybe. Oh, okay. Never mind that. I have to throw that away.
I want to do more YCHs because I feel like it might help me generate my own thinking process. I'm kind of a robot right now, as that someone tells me what to draw and I draw it, and so if I make up my own thing, then I feel like it'll help me get those gears going.
That's definitely what I've been kind of balancing too, because I think in a way to pump out more work, at least like, do you find that it's easier for yourself to have sort of this vision and then do like a YCH and then post it and then people will hit you up for it? Or do you like going through more of the personal one-on-one descriptions?
I think I like both.
Oh, okay.
For their own reasons.
One of my buddies. Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
But yeah, one of my buddies, he is a fursuit maker too, and he was finding like over the course of going to cons and then noticing the kind of business background behind the scenes, it's that for fursuit makers at least, and I was wondering about this for regular digital artists too, in the con, taking, you know, a very custom commission for suits themselves take a lot longer and they're more involved process rather than just say making a character or themselves already having something in mind to share that's a pre-made and then they just sell that.
Yeah, I would imagine as a fursuit maker it would probably be easier because that's a ridiculous amount of work.
Yeah.
But oh gosh, I have mad respect for them, for real.
What's your thoughts too on suiting in general? Do you? I don't know if you have a personal suit though.
I do not. There's nowhere for me to keep it.
Oh.
But I would absolutely adore to have one. Ever since my first ever seeing a fursuit in person, oh my god, I'm in love with them. They're beautiful. They're so beautiful and so amazing, and the artistry and talent that goes into making them is mind-blowing.
That's gorgeous, yes.
So I would love to have a suit. I would love to try to make one. I know some people try to make their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would like to make one rather than buy one.
Oh, that's definitely going to be cheaper. And I think I've seen, like, if you're drawing a lot, you have a good understanding of, like, the proportions and the style that you'd like anyway. So it kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So if I ever get the chance, I would love to try to make one.
I don't know if you know this artist. What was his name? He's a big purple, not bear. Is it a badger? Or what was his name?
Big purple badger.
He's also a really cool artist. Oh my god, I'm blanking totally on his name. But he did make his own suit too, and I think he has like an eggplant emoji as part of his badge. I don't know if he was at BLFC last year. I don't know if you've seen him. And he wears a little cowboy hat. It's really cute.
I can't think of it. You said a purple badger?
No, I'm gonna say red panda, but he's purple.
A red panda that's purple. The only person I could think of that even kind of looks like a red panda that's purple is, I think the name is Suck McJones.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, Suck McJones. I love that name.
I adore their art. First of all, they made their suit.
Yeah, I think so. I might be getting this wrong, so I could be totally like crucified here, but I did see work in progress pics on their Twitter, and it came out like beautifully, and I even got to hug him one time. That was so nice.
Oh really? Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully he goes to
cool.
BLFC this year. Yes.
I hope he does. That'd be amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm excited.
And fursuits, they add like, I swear, like another foot of height to to your height.
Do they? I always thought that they were just freakishly huge people.
Exactly. But I think it's the ears.
Cool.
I think it's the pointy ears.
Maybe, yeah. But oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
I noticed going through your gallery too, you've done some comics. Have you been working on any other comics in the background? And I say this because I myself am getting into like the comics kind of page by page scene.
Really?
Yes.
for me right now, I'm just working on a little comic that I had raffled on Twitter, but I'm also working on 3 others.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so you have
3.
quite a few.
Yeah, I got quite a few, but I don't get to make too much headway on them because of I overload myself with commissions like a fool.
Just time is so hard to manage, yeah, when you get a lot.
Time is impossible, yes, for sure. And it's totally my fault. I should be much better with my time.
I did see a couple of spicy ones, particularly in the bowling alley one. I forget if that was called, like, was it called glowing or something?
I forgot what I called it. I loved that one. That one was fun to work with.
Was that a YCH one?
It was not.
Oh, okay.
No, I've never done a YCH comic before. I let the commissioner decide exactly what they want, and I just try to make it. How they envision it. So they give me a script.
You took on a whole like custom commission for a comic. I've never done that before.
Really? Yeah, I have never done a YCH comic before. I always do them completely custom made.
Oh no. Like no, like what I meant was the so somebody commissioned you for that comic though.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they had written out a script and you could basically be the illustrator for their idea.
Right. So they'll tell me panel by panel what they want to be seen in that panel, but I got to figure out how to get all the panels together and how to angle things so that it shows everything without taking up too much space.
I was talking a little bit about this in my last podcast with another really great artist. His name is Shira Koi, and he's been working on Shira Koi, that's his @ he's been working on this 5-year-long project from like he was again like a starting artist, and then he went into comics and more of the storytelling scene, and he's been working on this visual novel called Repeat. How do you kind of structure the story or the kind of narrative for your short stories for comics?
Actually, I don't do much writing. I couldn't write to save my life.
Same.
So I always have a friend help me. So with 2 of the comics that I've got in the works, Nick, my friend that I talked about before, he's mostly writing those 2. And then I have another friend named Jet. He's working on the other one. So I get a lot of help with my stories. Oh, nice. I don't have any that I've done totally by myself yet.
It's a very collaborative effort, though. But it shows, though.
Yeah, I guess I try to learn from them because they're all brilliant writers. So I try to take little pieces of what they know and what they can do and try to apply it myself. Oops.
What have you read any other furry literature? I myself was really big into the Kyle Gold stuff a year back. Are you familiar with those?
Not. I've heard of it. Nick loves the Kyle Gold stories. I've heard a few of the audiobooks from him, or not in their entirety though.
Oh, okay.
But they are phenomenal.
Yeah, the writing scene is pretty huge. I even have a couple of friends. They got in from the Zootopia kind of fandom that did bleed into the furry fandom. And a lot of them were actually writers that continue the story of Zootopia. Are there any other inspirations or kind of like mangas even or even video games that you kind of take inspiration from that are maybe animal or anthropomorphic related?
At the moment, not wholly.
Like,
not really. Not that I can think of.
Oh, but you know what I am excited for video game wise? Animal Crossing. Oh my god. I'm so hyped for that.
I've never played it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it at
I'm
all.
insulted. Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm an actual disgrace. But I don't know anything about Animal Crossing, but I see it constantly on Twitter, and I have no idea what anybody's talking about at all.
Well, I mean, if I have to paint a picture, it's like basically, so you move into your town, it's just basically a landscape for you to get to know, like, literal animal people. They're your neighbors. And I don't know. It's something about I haven't really been into the scene of something like Stardew Valley. I've seen a couple furry mods for that, so I might check it out. Or kind of the slice of life farmer kind of life, if I have to describe it. So if you're it's mainly on like you're living the lax life, and you don't have to actually do anything. But if you want, you have the option of like making relationships with your neighbors. And that's the weird part that I got myself oddly hooked to.
That's from what I had seen of like gameplay and stuff. It kind of looks like it's a mini game.
Yeah, there's a lot of small stuff to do. Like you can go from fishing to like if your neighbor wants to just say, "Hey, I want some fruit. Can you go pick me an apple?" And that's somehow so oddly satisfying for me.
Really? I'll have to try it then, because I need to understand the hype. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but I find it, it's just, yeah, I just highly recommend, like, maybe get a friends or something and be like, what's all the haps about?
Yeah, and so if this is a new one, what was the other one about? Like, is it the same thing?
It's from the way I understand the history of Animal Crossing, I've been playing it since the Nintendo DS edition, which was not New Leaf, but I think it was called Wild World, which wasn't a hugely receptive one. But the main plot, or not really even a plot, there's no story, but the main premise for each game is that you're, like, the Japanese name is called Dobutsu no Mori. So that's like animal forest. Like you live with animals and you talk with them and you do different favors for people. And when you complete a task or something that they appreciate, they'll give you some furniture, they'll give you some wallpaper, or like a new design for a t-shirt or something like that. And you can kind of covet that. You'll take that home, like let's say a zebra gave you a lamp. You can go run back to your little home and you can go display that lamp by your bedside table or something like that. And it's kind of this whole kind of life simulator where you're building the relationships with your friends and you're building up this town. You can upgrade your house. You can really delve into like the whole like I live here kind of Second Life feel maybe, but in a really cute package.
That sounds super cute, actually.
Yeah, there's a huge community behind it.
Yeah, I've seen, my goodness.
Yeah, and coupled with that, Doom is also coming out in parallel.
I also know nothing about Doom, so...
Basically gore and like shooters. But anyway, kind of getting back to the art scene though. So it's really interesting to me that you mentioned that you come from this kind of religious background where it's really hard to kind of show that side of yourself, yet you pursue the art, and maybe in particular the lewd art. What were some of the inspirations for getting into that, or was it just more of that natural progression?
It's Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault.
That's the culprit.
Yeah, his fault. How did that happen?
And
I guess
this is a little bit, I just want to point out a little bit, like, do you find that there is a little bit of like contingency or divide about like, hey, you're a new artist and you should do lewd art and you know everyone's gonna love it, or what do you think?
Well, I didn't get into it thinking that everyone would like it, just because it's lewd art. I kind of learned that people like lewd art, but I figured that out along the way, but that was not the original intention at all. I think the original intention, or the thing that got me into it, was mostly really just growing out of my tiny bubble that said that nakedness is horrible, and feeling any kind of way that's not pious is sinful. And I guess I was kind of in my phase where I just wanted to
Explore.
learn new things. Yeah. Explore.
That's such a huge contrast too, because I do find that the fandom is totally the opposite. If that's what you were looking for, it'll show you a whole new world.
Yeah, I think that's what pulled me into it so quickly. I think I would have gone way slower if it had been like a community where it's okay, but keep it on the low.
Mm-hmm.
But since everyone is so open about it, I was able to just jump into it right away,
Did
or
you,
go faster.
yeah, did you feel like during that kind of development phase, even to this day, like, are more of your social connections through the fandom itself?
Um, yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean,
It's not just a phase.
it's not a phase, Mom.
It's not a
Uh,
phase, Mom. Yeah.
it mostly all of like the friends that I know in real life are just from childhood and all that extra. But
Mm-hmm.
in the fandom, I feel like those friends are extremely, they're very, very important to me because of how they've helped me move and grow a little bit. I'm still definitely growing. Like, I'm trying to get to the point where I could draw a bulge without blushing my face off.
I love it.
I
But
still
that's what the
blush so
blanket's for,
much.
the safety
Right.
blanket.
Yes, the safety blanket. It protects me, but it still makes me blush so much. So each and every commission and each and every lewd thing that I post, just know
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot of blush behind it. So much blush.
So if you could recap then, like coming from your early like walks into the fandom, and even seeing that kind of maybe judgment, maybe on a lighter note, what do you think is the perspective of furry? Like how would you be able to describe it with to a person who wouldn't be like so positive about it?
But I don't even know. I have nightmares about that, to be honest. I was like, I can't even imagine trying to walk up to my parents and be like, so I do furry stuff. Furries are people who enjoy like anthropomorphic animals. I'd probably use a Disney movie to explain it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they like Zootopia movies, or like they like a Zootopia movie and they like to make their own character. They like to express themselves through through a through an animal, or they would think I'm a witch or something.
Really?
Yeah. Because like growing up, I wasn't even allowed to watch like The Lion King because
Oh
talking
wow.
animals is demonic. So I would sneak watch it whenever I'd go to a friend's house. I would sneak watch all these movies that I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
allowed to watch, and I guess that's what got me started drawing animals and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think as a kid, it's like I don't really think that you can really hide just things that kids are interested in. Like even The Lion King is really family friendly,
Yeah,
and
it is. It really is.
it's got a lot of good lessons. And I find like that Disney generally is pretty positive.
Yeah,
Um,
it really is.
I mean, yeah, even from like I hear a lot of people they come from Fox and the Hound, or I mean, what's that really no, Robin Hood. That was another big one.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
very suave, smooth talker and stuff.
yeah.
um,
And you know what's kind of weird? I think Robin Hood was the only one that they were okay with.
oh wow.
I
A
I
talking
can't.
fox.
Right. I can't think of why, but that was the only one they were okay with.
And
But
yet you still found a way to say like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go sneak off to my friends and still enjoy this,"
right.
and you turned out just fine.
Right, exactly. I'm not crazy or anything. I just there are things that people can enjoy without being insane, and I guess that's
Yeah.
really hard for a lot of the people that I know to grasp.
Especially
They're so
for a
set in their
growing
ways.
artist. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So
Um
it's a lot of stuff.
yeah. What I mean, so what else do you have in the works then? You said you are managing 3 projects. Are those kind of on the down low, or are you willing to allude a little bit to what's the
At the
haps?
moment, I'm not working really on those 3 projects. I'm mostly focusing on the one raffle one that I have to do.
Oh, what's
I've
going on with the raffle?
so I on Twitter I had just released a raffle because I was like super grateful that I had 2K followers. Like that was like out of my mind. I can't.
That's a big
So
milestone, yeah.
I know I'm like, oh, people are so beautiful. Um, so I just released a raffle, and I was just you could get a 3 to 4 page comic that's colored sketch from me,
Mm-hmm.
And so right now I think it's 4 pages, and I had just finished doing the rough layout of how they want it to do, or how they want it to look.
Okay.
It's taking a little longer because it's a little more detailed,
Yes.
and the script, the winner didn't really have a set script, but they just had poses that they wanted in it, and I'm just kind of.
That's the
And they
one
have a
thing.
general idea.
That's the one thing I really like about your art too. It's when it comes to like the anatomy, there's something about the shape and the fullness that I really like about your forms.
Oh gosh.
Do you do a lot of figure drawing, or does it come from a lot of background in anatomy?
No, actually, I do not know how to figure draw. I'm trying to learn, but a lot of my anatomy is I do something called bean. The bean method. So like I'll draw a bean, and then I'll add like.
Oh, not the paw beans.
No, not
No. Okay.
like a kidney bean.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll draw like a kidney bean, and then I'll block in like the pecs. I'll start with a bean, and then I'll block in the pecs, and then kind of just.
Or go from the chest area and go to like the limbs. Go from the chest
area and go out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still really learning anatomy. I'm amazed that people like it, because when I look at it, I'm just like, dear God.
But like you work from that really rough bean stage, and then for me it's like I sometimes like I'll take even 2 to 3 layers to do the construction layer, and then I'll get to the line. How do you kind of format your workflow?
I kind of do it that way. I'll just start with a really light bean sketch, and then on top of that I'll throw in some more details. So yeah, it takes me about 3 layers to get to what I want, and then I'll do lining. But for the most part, I start with a bean in the middle, and then I'll add squares or block shapes where I think the pecs should be, the hips. As for like arms and legs, I kind of just I really wing it.
Did you ever get into like this one corner of like, oh God, what do I do with the hands in the pockets?
Yes, I hate hands. Oh, I hate hands so much. I have a program on my phone that is kind of like a really rough hand reference posing thing, but it's pretty useless. But,
does it make a 3D model of hands?
Kind of. It's like a 3D model, but it doesn't let you like spin it or anything, which is really dumb. But so I have to fill in a lot of the blanks myself. So I try as much as I can to like keep hands super simple. I hate hands.
I do feel like I'll get so frustrated sometimes. I'll go to the point of where it's like, God damn it, okay, if I'm gonna struggle so much, I'm gonna like rip out a sketch page and I'm gonna do like 50 different hands until I get it.
Right. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not the only person that
No, I feel like sometimes, and I don't know if this is just me, but like, yeah, I'll get, my frustration fuels me sometimes, and like something about like even paws and the way anthropomorphic proportions and things are, I really like the shapeliness of them. So yeah. I kind of get this like mix of like you go from strictly human anatomy stuff and proportion, and you kind of blend it with the dog anatomy, and then you get like these really cute like kind of, it's not really flat, because if you look at a hand or the digits, they're really flat, but I like how it's a little bumpy on the top though.
Yeah, I think the fact that it is a mix with the animal kind of gives you a little more leeway with how things look, which makes it a little easier.
Are there any styles or particular artist styles that you do kind of like get inspiration from? Or where do you get your kind of shapeliness or your flow from?
I guess when I need some sort of inspiration for like how a character should look, or how I should draw a certain anatomy or body build, I look to different artists for different body types, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like for someone who's more rotund, I'll probably look at I Give You Lemons, I think is the name.
I Give You Lemons?
Yeah, I think that's their name.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
Lemons. Yeah.
I'm gonna check them out right now. I'm gonna pull up
Yeah,
Twitter.
you should. I love their work. It's beautiful. I don't know what their name is on Twitter though.
Oh, maybe it's still the same. Is this through FA?
They have a Twitter too. Maybe on Twitter. Maybe it's I take your lemons, I think.
Oh, this person. Yes. Okay, I've just found their FA. The
Yeah,
big burly kind of bear dog looking Sona.
Yeah. I love the way they do how round everything looks.
Oh,
So
their
I'll try
contour lines are beautiful.
Aren't they? Oh, gorgeous work. Gorgeous work. I adore it. So I love their work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
For like a thin build, that still kind of holds on to the curviness of I Give You Lemons.
Mm-hmm.
I look to what's their name? Toki Fuji.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the name. That's
I
for
think
smaller builds.
I think kind of based on those images or those particular artist style. Do you know an artist called Hotstone? I've mentioned them before.
Katsudon.
I think you would really like their work, and they also do a lot of NSFW comic work too.
I don't know if I have heard of Katsudon. Hold on, let me see. Are they on FA?
Yes, and I believe they're still under KATSU dash. This is just promotional stuff here. KATSU dash DON, and they're working on this comic that's really funny about like this nudist beach, and when they're going on their way, there's this. I think there's this kind of shy boy, and he's on the bus, and when the big burly kind of tiger, I think he's like a panther or something, steps on the bus, he's got a huge hot dog, and like it's hanging there. And the funny thing that like caught me was that when the bus starts, the bus vrooms from the bus stop, and then it smacks the younger fur. That's how that's how they start their relationship.
Oh my goodness. No, I haven't seen that.
No, it's pretty nice. And yeah, if you like that kind of style, that's definitely something that reminds me of their kind of toony yet really nice anatomy and contour lines. One thing that I'll do often, and I'm really fortunate that I have these huge mirrors for my sliding doors in my closet. I'll go wheel myself over there, and if like I'm doing a pose on my chair or something, I'll just sit and I'll kind of just stare at myself for like a good 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I'll just like, I'll kind of get this vague, like this is just for me as an artist, like I'll get this vague impression of what the form kind of is, and then I'll just start from there. And I use a little bit, I think similar to your bean style, I'll do like the chest first, like how it's bent, and then I'll do kind of like the line of action.
The line of action.
Yeah, that's coming from my figure drawing a little bit in the background, because I find that it's really like on a technical side, if I go for more than like a week or maybe 2 weeks of not practicing like figure drawing, I feel so rusty because my brain has to really, this is why I say I'm a slow person, because I have to keep staring at something to kind of get the flow or the idea of the pose, and then that really helped me.
Oh wow. I'm amazed because figure drawing is extremely hard for me. So the fact that you can do it is amazing.
The beauty of it though is that it doesn't have to be good. Like as long as you can kind of see like your little like mess of lines make something, then that's the goal. You want to just warm up your brain.
To just make something? So just let it out and just make it happen? Yeah,
because I learned this, there's another artist, his name is Psy Kragh, and he's a YouTube artist, I think a pretty big one, and I used to watch a lot of his videos back in the day, just after high school, and one of the things he talks about is a really strong figure, and the goal is, because I think a lot of artists, this is just kind of my little soapbox here, but they get really intimidated by like, I have to draw everything perfectly the first time. And some of the other good artists that I see and follow on ArtStation, his name's Dave Greco, and he's done a lot of splash art for big industries like Blizzard and stuff like that, where you see really cool art of just like the League of Legends characters and stuff. And the one thing when I've watched his live streams is when he's roughing out something, he's very like not confident, but he even says he's really nervous about it. This big professional artist. I'm like, wow, really? And he'll say that I'm not married to any of the ideas. And that's what really gave me confidence to just say, like, I'm going to throw anything at the paper. And you can always change it and evolve it. And I see a lot of artists do that. They're sometimes not aware of it, but you can always change your ideas. And it's like, oh, that kind of makes me way more, like, less pressure on myself.
Wow, that's like that's really simple, but actually super profound.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people where it has to be perfect right away, right there. No mistakes.
And then just kind of taking that breather helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's kind of like, that changed me right now.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. Because, like, yeah, it's true. Like, you could just do whatever you want and change it and let it develop.
Another really good one
perfect.
Is these aren't necessarily other furry artists, but I do try to keep an eye out for all the styles that I really like. Kind of like how you mentioned, where if you're going for a body type, I want to look at this artist because they know what I like. Right. Another one is Cynics. I highly recommend Cynics. He's a wonderful painter, also a YouTube artist. So what he'll do sometimes, he does these things kind of called like dream painting or something. And what's really neat is during his live stream, he'll have a sped up version later that he'll post to YouTube. But for that session though, he'll be trying to like throw down random colors and paints, and he'll find forms in them. And then you'll see like this beautifully rendered like giant lady coming out of a lake or something like that. And then he'll transform it into like a scorpion or something like that, just to find different ways that he can get his brain to look at things differently. And I just highly, if you look for inspiration or feel like I want to try something new or different, check out Psy Kragh.
How do you spell that? Because that sounds amazing.
Psy Kragh or Cynics. They're both two different people, but it's Psy Kragh is Cynics. I believe. Oh, Cynics. Yeah, he's SINNEX. I want to say. But I could all link these things later too if you want to check them out.
Yeah, I'd love to. That sounds incredible. I need something to open my mind. I'm still a lot in my little bubble that I was born in. So I'm trying to expand my horizons and my ways of thinking.
Do you how do you feel about like the whole painting scene, or like what's the styles that you kind of like?
Oh, I love painting styles. I just couldn't do it if there was a gun to my head. It's really difficult. Right now I'm working on a commission actually that involves a lot of painting. I've got to paint a Disney castle, like Cinderella's Disney castle. I
did notice, yeah, in your backgrounds you do a lot of painting actually.
I try to, because lining a background is like murder, first of all. It's a lot. And second of all, yeah, it is. And I think that painting my background brings more attention to the character, so that there's not a whole bunch of details in the back.
Okay. It'll
put more emphasis on the lined character in front of you. But as for painting, it's really hard for me to understand, I guess, the process. I've seen a million process videos, but I don't know why I can't nail it down in my head.
I feel like
how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, I feel like the lighting thing is also something that stumps me. Because it's one thing for like, yeah, just focusing on the characters, but then when you kind of want to set the character in a scene, you'll have that sort of contrast. In a way that you do it, I think that is nice, the way that it puts emphasis on your line art actually. So with that intention, that does make a lot of sense, and it does work really well for you.
I try. I mean, lighting has always been my absolute nemesis when it comes putting a character in a scene. Really hard for me.
I've found that oh, sorry, go on, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that a lot of my problems come with not understanding how to use the programs that I use.
What do you use, by the way?
I use Paint Tool Psy 90% of the time, and then I'll use Clip Studio Paint times.
Why?
Still learning how to use that.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered about this. I've always been this kind of one-trick pony. I did start off with Paint Tool Psy. It was like a cracked version in high school and when I had no money. So it was a little bit sketchy. But the program I went to after that was CSP, and now I'm kind of full-time on Photoshop. But what is the use for two programs? How do you fit that into, like, for you?
So when I do a drawing, I'll sketch it, ink it, and do flat coloring and sometimes shading, just all on Clip Studio, or not Clip Studio, Paint Tool Psy. And then I'll move to CSP for effect and maybe throw in a background because they have better brushes for backgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I want to try to use CSP more because it just has better tools than Psy.
I heard it's also really nicely geared towards like comic creation too and making panels, and they've got a lot of like really nice Illustrator tools.
Yeah, they do. I have no idea how to use a single one of them.
No, one major milestone for me with CSP2 was figuring out the symmetry tool.
Yeah, I can't figure that out. The things that I know how to do on CSP are extremely elementary. Like, so I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah, even for like Photoshop, I would say it's funny. I'm full-time on digital art. I'm not too sure about your traditional and digital, but we can get into that. I treat the digital mostly as just a traditional piece where I'm mainly working on no more than a couple of layers.
Really?
Yeah, how do you kind of manage? Yeah, like no more than 2 or 3, or I get kind of like, my brain just goes like, okay, this is too much to manage. And then I'm like, I'm throwing all the layers and adjustments to different colors and it's affecting different layers. And that makes me really nervous. So if I go to a painting, I'll do the rough. And then after the rough, I'll do a light value and then I'll merge them and then work from that. How do you take that on?
Wow, that's really sophisticated. When I do it, I have like a million layers because I get nervous if everything's mixed together.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, if I make a mistake, if I make a mistake, then I would like to go to that layer where that little detail is and like just fix that without touching anything else around it.
There's only so many Control Z's you can press.
Right. So it's I have, I think the most layers that I've ever had was 78.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I almost had a heart attack.
And the lowest number that I'll have is probably 25.
Oh, is that mostly because, like, how would you say that you're breaking up like the chunk of work? Like, is the rough stage also broken into a lot of different layers and then more of a polished stage?
Yeah, so I'll have several layers of rough and then several layers of lines and then several layers of color. So it kind of just adds up from there. But I guess the bulk of it would be shading.
Oh, yeah, okay, I do see a lot of that too, where you're gonna apply a multiply layer and then go to like a deeper blue or dark purple or something like that.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Even,
for sure.
That's even really useful for, I guess, making, I would say I'm more of just a character artist, so like environments and backgrounds aren't a huge forte for me. So I would separate the character and the background as different layers, even if I was painting.
Yep, that's exactly how I am too. Definitely a character artist. But you know what's weird? I never have more than one layer for a background. It's always just one.
Oh, is it because you choose to do it more painterly styled? Or if you were to do line work, would it be different?
If I were to do line work, I would do one line work layer and then just the rest on one layer and then just combine them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that's pretty simple. So for your kind of art career grand scheme, I do like to ask people kind of near the end of the show, what do you think that you're gonna kind of expand upon, or where do you see yourself going? That kind of age old, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, at least with your passion?
Oh man, I feel bad for saying that I don't know, to be honest. Because I don't know what I don't know. I have this existential crisis like every day. It's like, I love what I'm doing. I love drawing for the furry community. It's like the best thing ever. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself or how I'm gonna. I know I want to grow. Yes. I want to grow, and I want to be a bigger artist. I want to get to talk to more people. I want to be a big part of. I want to be part of the furry community for a long, long, long time. Yeah. I just don't know what that will look like. But
you know what? I wouldn't say that that is a very unhonest answer, because a lot of the great people that I've interviewed as well, when it comes to that kind of question, it's like, well, heck, I don't even know what, next Tuesday is gonna be like. Right. So thank you for at least trying to like attempt to answer that, because a lot of the other people, like even Fluke as a fursuiter, he's a lovely dancer and stuff, and he wants to take his career too, that he explained to me in the furry fandom. And he just, one thing that I thought was really positive and cool that I took from the guy was that he wants to just be a positive influence for like the next generation of furries and stuff. And seeing that through his passion was really inspiring, and I see that common trait amongst like you guys as artists, and I really do learn, and I take that to heart a lot.
Oh wow, that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I do know that I do want to help people and be a positive influence, and I guess I kind of want to help. I would like to help people who are trying to get out of their own bubble, if that makes sense. I'm trying to get out of my own, but I don't want people to be locked up in their personal bubbles. I would like to help anybody who wants to expand and find themselves, I guess.
Yeah, I really do feel that, and that's really wonderful, and that's awesome. I mean, just for like this last bit, I'd just like to humbly thank you for making time out of your busy schedule, and I know time is really hard to manage.
It's fine. It's my problem. I need to get better at that.
So thank you for being a guest on TreeBark. I would love to have you on again and see what the haps is. Okay. What would you like to plug, or what would you like to let your followers or your friends know? What's up with you?
I would just like to
yeah.
Thank you, first of all, so very much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
It was so nice to get to talk to you. I don't really get to talk to many people, so it's wonderful to get to talk to you. I don't really have anything to plug, really. Just
where can people follow you or find you?
Oh, I am on I'm on Twitter and FA, kind of on Instagram, not really. I mostly just use it to follow bunny accounts. But I'll post art there sometimes.
And is that at Seibear _ or?
It's Seibear on everything.
Okay, you guys go check out Seibear. Her art is wonderful, and it's a huge inspiration to me and a lot of different artists. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And a big shout out to my Patreon supporters, starting with the Patron Pups, Ben Campbell, and Tyler Green. Thank you to my good boy supporters, Howler, and a huge shout out to my top dog supporters, Blarg, MN, Moody, Damon, Ferris, Artorius Nightwalker, and Ella Ryra. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting my content, and if you'd like to see more, follow my Patreon or my Twitter, all at Shikokubo, SHIKOKUBO. Thank you very much, and have a good day.